Hi, I'm here with Alicia Lara, CEO of Community Partners. Our firm led the search that placed Alicia at Community Partners about 3 years ago.
Oh,
Welcome, Alicia. It's great to see you again.
it's good to see you too, Ben. And it's such a wonderful opportunity. And congratulations on the 30th anniversary.
Thank you. Thank you. So, for those that may not know, would love for you to maybe share a little bit about Community Partners and what the organization does.
Sure. Well, Community Partners is an organization that was started about 30 years ago. And we started as an organization to provide a fiscal home for folks that have a great idea, that want to do amazing work in their community, but they don't have their nonprofit status yet. So we offer the ability for them to immediately start to raise funds. We take care of all of their financial and operational um, back office, if you will, needs while they face into their community to do amazing, amazing work. So we do that. We also have an intermediary side to our work. So we work with funders, foundations, and public sector who want to move forward an initiative. So we help them think about how to do that. We might re-grant or we might provide some capacity building for those grantees. And then most recently, we've been getting engaged in advocacy efforts. We really care about the nonprofit community. We think the nonprofit community is a pathway for strong, thriving communities everywhere. And so we are stepping into the advocacy space to make sure that smaller organizations, people with really deep roots in their community, have access to public sources of funding in a more equitable way than what we have seen in the past.
It's great. And now, is it that you're primarily focused on Los Angeles County? Is that correct, or is that has that changed?
So we have organizations, many organizations that are located here, but maybe working statewide or even national. So actually, we've got work going on in about 25 states, and some that are
Oh,
doing
wow.
national level advocacy work. So even though they may be headquartered here, they're doing a lot of work. And we've got more and more partner organizations that we're fiscally hosting who are in other parts of the country. Yeah.
That's great. That's great. Well, so you have now been there for almost 3 years, coming up on 3 years.
Yeah.
So how are things going for you so far? And what's coming up next at Community Partners?
Yep. So one of the things that we needed to immediately do was to modernize our system. So we've been, doing knee deep in a new financial accounting system and just leaning more into technology to help support um, the organizations that call community partners their home, so that it's not such manual processes, right? So we've been doing a lot of that, and just really bringing in more and more folks that have expertise in the finance world and the grants administration world. Um, because today, the funding environment for nonprofits is very complex. The public sector money is very complex. The private money is great to have, but you have to really manage it carefully, so that the funders are getting what they need, and most importantly, you're doing the important work out in the community. So it's very complex out there, and so that requires that we bring in more expertise. So we've been upgrading in different kinds of ways.
Great. Well, you as we were talking before we started this, you followed when you joined the organization, you followed one of the organization's co-founders, and someone who had been leading the organization for nearly 30 years. And looking back on that transition, I'm curious what advice you might have to nonprofit boards that are going through a similar transition from a longstanding leader or founder, and what advice you might have for the actual executives that would be following these leaders.
Yeah, that's a great question, and I would say, and you were involved in it, Ben. A board has to really take its time. So the longer, especially if it's someone who's going to retire,
Yeah,
and in our case, that's what happened. We had a long, a stretch of time to work with it, so that the board could really ask itself what they need from another leader. and having a really good recruiter like yourself, really pushing them and not letting them get away with the easy answer, but really pushing them on the things that are most important. Um, and then having a good search committee. Unless you're a small board, you want to have a search committee doing those initial pieces with lots of transparency around that, and then regularly come back to the full board for what it is that they're finding. Um, and in my case, uh, what was unusual is that I was hired during COVID. So
Yeah. Yep.
almost all of my interviews were online in a space just like this. It wasn't until the very last interview with the board chair did she invite me over, and we sat outside, 6 feet apart, having a
I remember
wonderful
that.
conversation. But it's unlike anything I've ever been through. And I will say that it's probably the best interview process I've ever been through. Very thoughtful questions, um, which gave me a lot of confidence about the organization coming in. And then there was a transition committee, which I also appreciated. So they interacted and really getting from the retiring CEO what his needs were related to the organization so that I could focus. And I think that was good. And I think he appreciated that. And I certainly appreciated that. So we could understand um, what is it that he needed in a transition out, and that they would work with him on those kinds of things. I think that was really powerful as well.
Yeah, it is a delicate process to manage, and you want to be able to respect and honor the accomplishments and everything that the founder or the longstanding leader brought to the organization, but you also need to make sure that you're setting the organization up for success moving forward, and that new person up for success.
Right. So you
So,
really have to think about the future of the organization, and not because you're trying to design something that the other CEO wouldn't have done, or anything like that. You're really trying to understand, what does the community need from an organization such as Community Partners at this moment. What is the community calling us to do, and now, and what does that look like into the future? So we've got great spaces in Los Angeles, but we also want to make sure that organizations that are outside of Los Angeles are really finding good footing in their local communities. And so we're putting more time and effort into building capacity. So there's what I call the transactional side of paying the bills on time and paying the leases and this and that. That's the transactional. That's got to be done with a really high level of excellence. And we also want to pay attention to, how does that organization want to grow? What do they need in order to become great leaders, even better leaders? And so, can we bring in some training, some coaching, some consultation on everything from how to build a good board to HR rules.
yeah,
The folks that we're dealing with have a lot of vision. They don't come to us because they know HR law. So, but they're always open to learning about it. And so
yeah.
we want them to be great out in the community. And we also want them to understand and help them in their growth as, that leader, that's the internal leader on supporting their own staff. So we've been really leaning into that a lot.
Well, there's so much, they have the vision for this and how they want to help the community in their way. They're not always, to your point, they're not always the expert on HR policies or invoicing or whatever that may be. And so, it sounds like you're able to enable a lot of the great work that they're trying to accomplish.
But we really want to be that good partner to them, and then really listen to our partners. My idea of growth and their idea of growth may be different. It's their idea of growth that counts. And
Yeah.
so we really need to be in that listening mode to understand it may be going deeper rather than broader, right? It may be a new community or a new population or a new idea. I mean, I'm really so fortunate that we've got these really great community-based sort of entrepreneurial people. That's just amazing. I'm always amazed and love to spend time with these leaders and really listening to their vision for their community. Uh, I always get inspired by that.
Well, it's great work that you're doing, and the organization as well. And just want to Thank you so much for your time, Alicia. It's been great catching up, and wish you and community partners all the best for continued success.
Thanks very much, Ben, and thanks for everything that you've done for us and the work that you're doing out in community every single day. Appreciate you.
Thanks, Alicia. Take care.